Dennis Quaid stars in the new Paramount Plus Happy Face, playing convicted serial killer Keith Jesperson.
Nope. Hey.
What?
Don't say his name, please.
Don't say his name. Oh, why?
Because I don't want to give him any publicity.
Well, the show gives
call
him
him
publicity.
the Happy Face Killer.
That's it.
Yeah. So that's what he is.
You had reservations about playing the Happy Face Killer.
Yeah, before we start out, I'd like to give a shout out to my anesthetician, Wendy. Hi. And, but
also,
anyway,
your
like, what a
anesthetician-
coincidence, right?
Your skin is so pure.
Thank you so much. That's what I was
smooth
fishing
and
for there,
just
Billy.
like Allie's, who was here a second ago.
But
Dude, I just watched the first 2 episodes in anticipation of your arrival, and it is you're haunting.
oh, thank you. Thank you very much, I think.
Good job,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah, I really was hesitant about taking this role on because I really don't have any compunction to play a serial killer, because, in acting, you've kind of tried to get inside people's heads. That's what drew me to acting to begin with. But that's not a good place to be. But this was about his daughter. And that's the point of view of this, which sets it apart from other true crime stories that, and serial killer stories that have been out there. And that he had a very kind of loving, sweet relationship with his daughter when she was growing up. That's her memory.
Every time he would commit a horrible murder and rape,
she got presents.
She got presents. She got candy.
He was a trucker, and he killed 8 women in 5 years along his route that he would take, driving a semi-truck. And she was 15 when he was caught. So how do you reconcile this sweet, loving father with this monster of a serial killer when you hear about what he's done? She's been trying to right this wrong that cannot be righted in her head for going on almost 30 years now. And the way she chose to go about any kind of healing was to reach out to the victims of her father, their families. And then she started reaching out to families of other perpetrators, other serial killers, murderers, because she talks about this a lot. There's a lot of shame that goes with being the daughter or family member
she's kept
of
it
a
hidden
perpetrator
for her whole life or career.
They live in a small town. Well, you live in a small town. How you gonna hide it? You can't hide stuff like that. And that's you have to think about, is that in our family? Is it genetic? Is it, is that a part of me or whatever? And the way she chose to go about healing herself was very courageous to step out there. And that's why I said yes to this. This is because of her courage.
Wow. Well, it's unbelievable. I mean, Dennis, I just thinking about, you are always working. I mean, you have, I guess there's got to be a period that things dried up at some point and you were like, I mean, everybody's got to go through something. Did you have like a 5-year stretch where nothing happened?
Yeah, there was a weekend there where things dried up back about 7 years ago.
Everybody hits the shits at some point. Yeah. You're talking to a man who's hit the shits.
It was a holiday weekend too, but I just love the work. I love, and it's new now because of the cameras, that we have that you shoot movies with. Used to be you could only maybe do 1 movie, maybe 2 in a year, because you'd be on the set for 5 months, and just to shoot a scene between you and me, when they shot your part and they turned the camera around, it would take 2-3 hours to light. Now it takes 15 minutes. So movies, you can do movies in 6 weeks now with, great quality. And so that's one thing. And it's a golden age, man. It is.
You did The Substance, with Demi Moore.
Yeah.
That just happened. Just before that was Reagan. You know, firing through. So I assume you have a scheduler that must be
about 4 other movies there too.
You have 4 in the hopper coming out?
Yeah, I've got Sovereign that's coming out, which is another true story of these sovereign people who think that U.S. law doesn't apply to them. They live out off the grid or whatever. They're not, they don't pay rent at places. They don't. If you're stopped by a police officer, you don't acknowledge that you even have to have a license to drive a car, and that the cop doesn't really have any authority over you. And there was a real guy like this and his son, and they were stopped by a cop who was on his first day on the job, and that kid wound up getting killed there at an off ramp. And I play the chief of police was that kid's father. It was a horrible story, and but it's a very incredible movie. It's an amazing story.
You got movies, the series. Guess. See if you can guess. What was the Dennis Quaid movie when I was a young buck that that really got me?
That you weren't. You were before Parent Trap generation.
Yeah,
that's my main body of
Parent Trap.
Because you get them young. That's great. And I love that movie. But yours is probably Dreamscape. Dreamscape, Breaking Away.
Yes.
There it is.
Breaking Away.
Yeah.
You know what I said? I said, God, that guy's hair, your hair, and it's held up. Can you believe this?
I still got it. And
you're very lucky to have hair. Would you rather have?
You've got fabulous hair yourself, Billy.
But listen. You're a little older than me, and I just hope that I could hang on.
Well, but everyone knows I don't color my hair.
Would you have gotten plugs if you needed to?
Yes, but I don't know. I always kind of wanted to look like what's his name who used to play The Fugitive, David Jansen on TV. He had that widow's peak. I thought that was so cool.
I got the little grays coming in over here.
Yeah, it's very salt and pepper for you. It works.
So you grow up. You grew up in Houston, Texas. In high school, you did some dance and some theater because you look like. When I think of you, I think also any given Sunday.
I didn't do dance. I didn't do dance.
No dance?
No.
I'm throwing that in there.
Maybe there was a
little ballet
dance class, but that wasn't or stage movement. I did boxing instead. That's what I did for stage movement.
Were you, caught between the athletes and the theater kids? You're a very good golfer.
I wasn't an athlete. I was a skinny kid. I weighed like 145 pounds in high school, and it's a rite of passage to go out for the football team in high school in Texas.
Oh, yeah.
Where I grew up.
Friday Night Lights, baby.
Yeah. And I was a good receiver. I had got a good pair of hands, but I was basically kind of like snickered off the field. I was just too small.
You just got hammered by people.
Yeah, and then I wound up in drama class.
What was your first production?
It was Spoon River Anthology. It was the first time I was on stage.
Spoon River, not Moon River.
Spoon River Anthology. It was a collection of characters from around the turn of the century. Sort of Thornton Wilder-esque type of a thing. And, I played an old man. The earth has a vibration in its heart. And that's you. That was my first line.
You remember the line?
I remember the line. I also remember the silence after the line.
Did it either suck or was it so powerful that people were like, oh my God, we're seeing the next...
That's the thing. When you're first on stage, you've got such stage fright and you really don't know how to feel an audience yet.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that, I think I've gotten to the point where I can feel an audience, but it takes a couple of minutes.
Yeah.
To feel You know,
your older brother was an actor too, Randy. Did he pave the way for? Did you see him in productions and say,
yes,
"Hey, I
did.
want to"?
Yeah, Randy. First off, like our cousin was third cousin is Gene Autry.
Wow.
The movie Cowboy.
I did not know that.
Yeah, I never met him until like 1994 when Wyatt Earp came out. But he was the family legend. And so. I had sort of like that showbiz thing and kind of going through the family there in Houston, but nothing really seemed possible. Our dad was a frustrated actor who turned us on to, old movies and actors and stuff like that. And Randy got into drama in high school with this acting teacher, Cecil Pickett, who wound up being at the University of Houston. And they came through auditioning for The Last Picture Show, and Randy got a part in that. Peter Bogdanovich directed it.
Wow.
Yeah, and then a year later, Peter Bogdanovich called Randy out to do a small part in What's Up, Doc? And then Randy wound up staying in L.A., and Randy was getting jobs, and it wasn't like a year and a half, 2 years later, he was nominated for an Academy Award for The Last Detail, like with Jack Nicholson. And so it was...
So he
definitely,
led the way.
I could see that it was possible.
If it's possible for Randy, you said, then it's got to be... Did you live with him when you came out to Hollywood? Did you sleep on his couch?
On his couch for the first couple of weeks, yeah. But I worked at the Steak and Ale and as a waiter to earn money, and I had a $1,200 when I went out there, and I got fired from my last job on purpose so I could get unemployment from Texas. That statute of limitations is run out on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. But anyway, I came out there, and it took me a year to get an agent, and I got a job 3 months later, and away I went.
God, your father, who was a frustrated actor, who he must have been very proud. All of a sudden, he's got two boys, and they're both start really picking up and making tons of movies with big roles. I mean, both of you had great success.
I think he was concerned too. At the same time, when Randy first got into it, at least in college and in high school, it was Randy stated, "I'm going to be an actor, and that's how I'm going to be." And he knew. And, Dad was kind of like, well, you ought to get like a real job out there because that's not going to work. And then when he made it, he was really very proud, surprised. And because I think that was the thing with him. He didn't see how that was possible,
Yeah.
But
believe me, kid, you're going to have your heart broken.
Really, yeah. Mr. Pickett, that acting teacher who was also at the U of H, who I took classes from for 2.5 years, he taught acting as a craft. And because I didn't know about really being an actor, I was going to be a veterinarian and then or a forest ranger. I didn't know what I wanted to do. But I took his class, and within a week, I was 18 years old, and I knew what I wanted to do with my life, and that's a real gift.
Jeez, that's lucky.
That few people get.
Yeah. Well, do you ever get to speak to Randy? Do we know what's going on with him?
He and I don't speak. No. He'd rather I don't speak about him, other than I'll speak about him with my history of him. I really admire Randy. I think he's like really one of the great actors of our time. Certainly one of the greatest comedic actors, that's for sure. Cousin Eddie on Christmas Vacation and
LBJ.
Yeah, LBJ. I can go down the line. And he certainly cracked me up growing up.
Yeah, funny. Yeah. Unbelievable.
We're very close, but we don't speak.
No. But you can feel him.
I love him from afar.
Got it.
Let's put it that way.
What about, was religion, you grow up in the South, it's football, it's faith. Were you guys a religious household?
Yeah, we went to Sunday school as kids, and I became disillusioned with religion. We were the Baptist church, and I think it was 11 or 12, and I came in with I'd forgotten my quarter for donation in Sunday school, and I just got, up and down about how I didn't bring my quarter there, for that. And that kind of I felt shamed. And then I also kind of felt, well, money and church money. And, it was kind of disillusioned by it all. I was baptized, I think I was 10. I was in the 5th grade. And I started, then in high school, I started reading Siddhartha. I picked that book up, Herman Hesse, which is really the story of Buddha, sort of told in a story of this this guy who becomes a monk. And I was really turned on to Buddhism and to other religions, period, about what else is there out there, And then I went around the world, and that was my question on one of those round the world trips that you used to buy. Pan Am used to sell like $1,000 ticket, and you could go around the world, any country you want, including going north, south,
How old
as
were
long
you?
as you keep heading the same direction, east or west.
Oh, wow.
I was like 20, 23, 24, like that. And
so you'd had a little bit of success. You'd had some.
yeah, that's right. And
Breaking Away, I think, was 24.
I think it was with that money that I actually
Took your Breaking Away money
bought
and
that
left.
ticket.
Because most people feel the heat like, man, I got to get the next picture. I got to get the next thing. You took off and said, I'm going to take a break and go around the world.
That was back in the old days when breaks were taken. It was like, it was different back then. There was a very limited amount of work compared to what it is now. Very limited. But anyway, my question to everybody was these different countries is, who is God?
Yeah.
And so, I wound up reading the Dhammapada, and I've read the Quran twice, and I've read the Bhagavad Gita, and I've read them all, and I've read the Bible now 4 times. But I used to say I was a Zen Baptist, but then in my 40s, I really came back to the red words of Jesus in the New Testament. And I finally got it about what it is to have a personal Savior in your life.
And what was there? Was there a moment that
It's
hit?
a relationship. It's a relationship.
Every kid, you can't. Your parents can force you to go to Sunday school and all that, but you'll never connect until you yourself, right?
Yes, that's absolutely true.
Did you connect because you were down and reaching for help, or were you just
yes. In fact, that was after I got out of cocaine school.
The 80s were basically cocaine decade for you.
Actually, 1990, and I got out of cocaine school, and you got into the program. You have a higher power and stuff, and so I started. I became a seeker again. I went to India. I think in the 90s. I went to India like 9 times, and I was just seeking something, but it was, like I said, reading the Bible, and I read it like cover to cover. And I've read it 4 times in my life. And I suggest just doing that if for anybody, actually, because every human thing action or thought that anyone has ever had in the whole history of being a human is in the Bible. Every situation there has ever happened is in the Bible. And so much that, you don't understand some of it, or a lot of it, in fact. But if reading it over and over again and at different ages, it means different things. That's how it's how deep it is, and it really hit me. But getting back to it, it was really the red words of Jesus are what Jesus actually said, and that's what struck me and started this real relationship
in your 40s, which
yes,
so you've had it with you for some time. And The Baptist community, maybe I would guess, I'm not sure, but slightly unforgiving with mistakes in life. You said you
not
had
really. No, the Baptists aren't. No, that's the great thing about being a Baptist. You can go out and
sin, and you're good on
like
Sunday.
6 days a week and come in, and all is forgiven. Being baptized is actually, compared to the Baptist church. The Catholic Church. Catholic Church, you're christened, baptized at birth, basically. Baptist, you have to make that decision on your own.
I love it.
Yeah. But, certainly there's a lot of disapproval that goes along with that, I'm sure. But, I've never been one for churchianity to begin with. It's having that personal relationship, which takes away the church, takes away everybody else, actually. It's about you and him.
You had you said you had the cocaine 80s, 90. I thought about it's like, thank God you got out of that because, then, tell me if I'm right, then the cocaine was unbelievable. It was like pure and beautiful.
Just everywhere.
And like everyone was into it.
It was in
all
movie
over
budgets.
It was in
you go to a meeting.
It was in your
you
rider.
go to a meeting and
now
it would be on
you don't want it
the
now.
table, there in the Black Tower. And
fentanyl was not a thing.
No. Thank God fentanyl was not a thing.
How hard was it to give up cocaine? Because
that was hard, I got to say.
Hardest
Smoking
thing?
is harder to give up than I think anything. I never tried heroin. Never did that. But cocaine was hard to give up because you get into a lifestyle and you get this and you put it on the table and that was my drug of choice. I wasn't going to leave until that was gone.
That's what they say about cocaine.
Yeah,
there's never any left.
Never enough. But what happened is that I used to scream at God at night to please take this away from me. But then I was in a band, and the night that we got a record deal at the Palace Theater over on Vine Street, we broke up.
The night you got a deal.
Just like that movie, The Commitments, we broke up right at the moment that we got our record deal. And it was because of me. It's like they couldn't take me anymore. And I went home and...
Because of the blow.
Yeah. It could have been a couple of, personalities. But but it was the blow. And so I went home and I had one of those white light experiences where I saw myself in 5 years I was going to be either dead, in jail, or I was going to lose everything that I had ever meant anything to me. And I went to see my doctor the next day, and I checked into a rehab.
This is about 1990?
Yeah, back then they didn't have these, you get massages and, delivered food and all that stuff. And this was in the basement of St. John's Hospital over there, CDC. And I was lucky I got it in 30 days. Wow. But then I spent a couple of years really kind of just really grinding my teeth to keep myself, no matter what, from doing it again because I wanted to.
But you drew the line on that?
And then it started to leave. And that was through prayer and meditation and going to meetings and just no matter what, having some sort of faith in it.
You were in relationship at this point with Meg. Was she helpful, Meg Ryan?
Yeah, Meg... incredibly. Meg didn't know.
You hid the cocaine from Meg?
Yeah. Drug addicts are really good at hiding stuff. And she didn't know. And she
was like Sally, and when Harry Met Sally, just kind of a little aloof, didn't
right
see
around
it.
the time she just done
And you
that.
were probably very sneaky. I bet you could hide the blood.
Yeah, I was pretty sneaky. But she didn't know. And she was great because she, before we got married, and she was a huge help for me with that. And, it's now what, 35 years later.
Well, applause on that, thank God.
Yeah.
Because you wouldn't, the 120, how many movies have you done? I don't know, 120 or something?
I stopped counting at 100 somewhere along the line.
When I think of that 1988, I believe, when Harry Met Sally, you must have been so thrilled that her romantic co-star was Billy Crystal. And can't be jealous of Billy. Very talented man, but
No, but yeah, you never know. Billy has his own charms, you know.
Women say it's a sense of humor first.
Come on.
That they really are attracted to.
That's how it happens, Billy. You turn your back, you go,
Sheldon, did we?
What do you know? Next thing you know. Remember that Woody Allen movie? Annie Hall, where she leaves him, he sees her a couple of years later, and the guy that she's with is even shorter than he is. You remember?
Yes. You never know.
You never know.
Never know what that little fella's hiding or what's going on. Well, she gave you the greatest gift. This your son Jack.
Yeah, Jack is just
holy shit. Is he a great actor? His movie Novocaine is terrific, and The Boys is an amazing series. And
it's it's
like, in the blood, baby.
He was #1. You know, 2 weekends ago. I mean, how many actors were #1 that weekend? Well, there was one, and that was him.
That was him.
Yeah.
Your dad was proud of you. You must be proud of him. And
he beat out Soderbergh's movies. He beat out I think he beat Robert De Niro's movie out this last week. So the kid's doing great. I mean, he just loves really what he's doing. It was obvious that was what he was going to do. He went about it the right way, you know, and he really trained like in high school and college, and he did it all on his own.
You did. I always think the right stuff. Like when I think the right stuff. Breaking Away with the hair and just the most handsome guy you've ever seen. Look at the right stuff. Gordon
I love that
Cooper.
Movie.
Oh my God.
That was
that like Breaking Away and then there's Breakthrough?
Yeah. Even though the movie was not a success, by the way, it made $2 million its first weekend. You know, it was back when it was just like a boyhood dream coming true. I was playing the astronaut that was my hero when I was a little kid, Houston, which was Space City.
Yeah.
And it so turned out he lived 3 miles from me here in L.A., and we got to be good friends, and he turned me on to Bud Wallen over here at Van Nuys Airport, just down the street, and I got my pilot's license. And
what is it with actors and flying? I mean, like Harrison Ford flies and Tom Cruise
there's only about 4 or 5 of us.
What's your
within I was afraid to fly, but I was playing these astronauts, and it was really kind of more about the way they are on the radio, that voice, and I was afraid to fly. I kind of felt like you were going to fall out of the air, and that was but I wanted to try it, and then I wound up actually getting my instrument rating after that, and then going on to twin engines and flying jets and buying one, and really very convenient.
Today?
What? I still fly, but I sold my jet because I don't use it often enough. It gets very expensive.
Who's the best pilot? Would it be John Travolta?
Who's the best pilot you ever saw?
The best pilot of all the actors, the big-time actors.
You're looking at him.
You're better than Cruise, better than Travolta?
That's the answer. See the right stuff.
You're looking at
Who's the best pilot you ever saw? They're all very good. I spent about 4 days. I've never flown with John. I flew with Kurt, who's a really good pilot.
Kurt Russell?
But, yeah.
Also great hair.
What's that?
Also great hair. Oh,
Harrison is excellent. Harrison's really good. Not only that, but Harrison flies helicopters.
He landed on a golf course, Harrison Ford.
Yes, I know all about that.
Wow.
I've heard it from his mouth and from those that witnessed it. And he almost made it back. And he was trying to save lives, too, at the same time, landing on that golf course. And, it was in an old plane that I myself, I don't trust those things. But he's a great pilot. And flying helicopters, which is really like trying to balance a marble on a plate.
Just like why I would never do it.
Yeah,
it's like I don't even like getting in them.
Yeah, I love to get in them, and I would like to learn to fly one. Actually, I've got about 5 hours in them, and I finally got it where I could keep it steady. But there's a whole lot that goes with it.
Oh my God! Well, you played this one of my favorite movies, Any Given Sunday, when you played the aging quarterback. It's directed by Oliver Stone.
Yeah.
Was he I'm always fascinated. He's a very intense individual. Did you blend well with him, or did you have
with Oliver?
Yeah,
Fantastic.
perfect.
Yeah, I gotta say, I thought that,
Thank God.
Given Oliver's track record, or the stories that I'd heard before that, I thought, well, somebody is surely going to get hurt on this film, because it was very, very violent. At least it appeared so. Nobody got hurt. That's because he set it up. He hired the right people, and we had pro players just really crawling all over each other to be in that movie, and we had the endorsement of the NFL to begin with, right up to like a week before we're going to start shooting, because we had football camp like a month before for the whole thing, and then they took it away. They took away their endorsement. Yeah, so we had to change the uniforms.
Why? Because of the violence, or
because it was so true.
Yeah,
that's really why they took it away. He really showed. He took you down on the field. He really showed what it was like to be in the NFL. Oliver, it's the closest I think it comes, and I've heard this from players, even, just the experience of the impact and the visceral experience of playing, and also, the at-home part and the rest of it.
I would think
the games that are played with careers.
In that an actor works for a director, is he the hardest to work for? That you have in you can think of?
He was so easy to work for.
So you were ready, you were prepared, you
He was very easy to work for, and it was also, I don't know why, but he was like, he didn't show up at the set till like 11, 12 o'clock. And I don't know, that's for him to talk about.
Wow.
But we got that, like James Woods and I learned that early on, and so we had tea times at dawn, because that was our call supposedly, and we had tea times at dawn, so it would be Lawrence Taylor, Jim Brown, and Jimmy and myself, the greatest offensive player, the greatest defensive player ever to play the game, and that was something else.
And James Woods in the foursome. Who's the best golfer? Listen, I've played golf with you. We play golf at the same place, and you are reported on the internet as a one handicap. I don't think you're a one.
No, that was before twins.
You were okay. You were a one
before I had twins.
All right.
I was actually a 0.6. I was a 0.6.
You were that good?
Yeah, I actually was that good.
Dennis Quaid has a pile of golf balls, and what do they say on them?
Dennis Quaid is here. In fact,
so if you find them in the bushes,
one of your producers found one of them the other day.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
So I also think of like you played pitcher Jim Morris in The Rookie. I mean, the sports movies, are they? God, they're the sexiest. Are they the most fun?
They are great to do. I love doing movies about sport. But the key to a great sports movie is for it not to be about the sport.
Yeah.
It's got to be about something else, something that everybody can relate with. Like The Rookie was about second chances in life. That's what it really was about, down at the end. And that's what it needs to be. Otherwise, just watch the documentary.
Yeah. Oh my God. It's such a great, your career, fascinating to me. I think about what you did with Reagan. First of all, the look. I didn't realize how much you look like Ron Reagan.
I didn't feel like I looked like him.
Oh, I think you looked like him a lot.
Yeah, well, they offered me the part. I did not say yes, because I was terrified, to tell you the truth. Not that picture.
Not bad. They're putting up a picture right now, but that picture, I don't think. But in some of the scenes, they got the hair exactly right, and the look and the voice.
I just wanted to make people forget. That's all.
Yeah.
They didn't have to be absolutely perfect. I just wanted to make people forget.
And the temptation might to go, doing too much.
I didn't want to do an impression,
right?
Of him. That I revered him so much before that. It was like he was the second president I voted for, and I just revered him so much and what he did. Winning the Cold War and all that.
And providing hope, hope and a new dawn in America. And it's just a positive, message. Right?
Very positive. In fact, today's times remind me of those times back then, before the election, the Carter administration, and even now, In fact, Reagan was elected. It took about a year and a half for his policies to take effect because, this year we're still living off the Biden budget. There's not a whole lot we can do now, but you can prepare the ground for next year.
Yeah.
But it takes time for those policies to kick in, and they were all over Reagan too, like within weeks, And they also thought, he's a warmonger. He's going to start a war with the Soviets. But that thinking, even the Soviets maybe thought, he might just start a war with us, And that kind of thinking, it was the thing that actually brought them to the table. And that was the thing that ended the Cold War.
Ended the Cold War. Do you you speak about politics? You're not afraid to say you spoke. You at a Trump rally. You support Trump. And was there a time?
I also say I've voted both ways. I'm an independent. I'm not a member of any party. I've voted.
Same.
Both ways.
Do you think there should be a bigger independent? I have to tell you, I don't understand the two-party system anymore. For myself, I'm registered independent, grew up a Bush, but I just find it to be a better way of doing business because I think the longer you've been in office, they hate each other so much. There's so much vitriol. It's more about power than people and maintaining power. And so you got these guys who've been in the office forever, and it's just they lose sight. I think, one, if you're going to have two parties, do it term limits. But I'd like to see a stronger independent party.
I would too. And I think that just might happen sooner than you think. The Democrats are they're fractured. And not just split, but I think they're actually really fractured. You have a lot of independent Democrats are leaning towards that are moderate. I think then you have your diehard old-time Democrats, that harken back to the civil rights movement and the 70s and social justice and all that. And then you have the radicals who have basically
led to this moment,
taken over the party.
Yeah, and they've led us to. But I will say this: the Democrats. One thing I find, if I'm going to compliment the party, is admitting the failures and admitting. I see a lot of people, Ro Khanna, some of these other congressmen coming forward, and some, J.B. Pritzker and others who are coming forward and saying, okay, we did screw up. We overpreached to people. They embracing the wokeism and that they got a little nutty out there. And that, they need to get back to the center.
I haven't seen much of that yet. Maybe you've been listening more than I have.
Well,
but
it's hard.
I really haven't seen that yet. As in general, I think there'll be some soul searching right now. I think there's a lot of posturing as it goes right now because everybody's kind of trying to maneuver to who's going to be the leader of the party.
Sure.
So you hear a lot of
admitting some failure.
I've been hearing a lot of bullshit that's and doubling down and stuff that I don't think they realize that they're on the wrong side. They're on 80-20 still on the wrong side of a lot of issues that people had enough of.
Have you always spoken out? I mean, as an actor, sometimes actors get blowback if they get political. Are you at a point
where you don't
give a shit?
For quite a while. I mean, I voted for Obama first time. In fact, I even introduced him here in L.A., I think, the first time he came here campaigning. And, I voted for Bush once. I voted for Obama once. Voted for Clinton once.
You played Clinton once?
Voted for your uncle once.
What? Senior? You played Clinton too. Not only have you played Reagan,
Yeah.
you play. How was it more? what was a greater challenge, Reagan or Bubba?
Both, really. I mean, Reagan, because it was so, it was over a lifetime and everything. But I spent a weekend in the White House with Bill Clinton. We'd gone there, Meg and I with Jack, and they had to leave. And so it was just me and Bill in the White House on a slow news weekend, and Hillary was in Chicago.
No wives, and Bubba. Tell me things got crazy.
He had his, he had his college T-shirt on, and he's such a he's like, what do you call those people that just cannot throw away or give away anything that they've ever gotten?
He's a hoarder.
Oh, he's a hoarder. Yeah, basically. Every gift he's ever had, he's got.
Well, he's in Arkansas. He grew up poor in Hope, Arkansas, so he's
Yeah, and he's the most, he's probably so charismatic. I mean, he could be in a crowd, and there'd be 8 people around him, and he's got somebody's hand, and he's talking to another one, and everybody, all those 8 people still feel that they're the center of his attention.
He's good.
He's good. He's
look
really
you deep
good.
in the eyes.
Yeah.
I remember one time I was at the Super Bowl, and he was on the side. This is when he and George Sr. had both left office, but they were friends. They were, very friendly with each other. And they were on the sideline. They were going to do the coin toss or something, and I had my camera crew there because I was, hustling and working. And I ran over and I said, "All right, come on. There's never an opportunity that 3 legends like this could get together. Come on, let's get a photo." Bubba loved that. He went, man, I love it.
I just love that.
Love it.
Oh, that is so nice. In my book, buddy. But it's the Democratic Party will get it together. Whether they call themselves something else, which is a possibility, by the way. But I would love to see us return to a time when we weren't that far apart. Democrats and Republicans used to be pretty much the same, except for a couple of issues.
Oh,
you go back to the issues. And that's the way it ought to be. I mean, to get back to that middle about that's about this country, and also about our place in the world in this country.
I want people to get together after the end of the day and get along. I'm sick of it. And that's why I want the independent party.
Including Democrats and Republicans.
Exactly.
And independents.
But I have to say, on a personal note, first of all, thank you so much for coming in here. But when the wheels fell off my bus, if you will, I got the shit hit the fan in my life and career. I have a stack of letters that I received from certain people that I'd just interviewed along the way or had come into contact with. Cindy Crawford and the beautiful Julie Bowen and Suzanne Summers and all those kinds of people. But Dennis Quaid wrote me a beautiful note. Said
I texted you.
Yep.
Yeah.
Really good guy. I just want to say thank you. When I was feeling terrible and I saw the name Dennis Quaid reaching out to me, I thought it made a big difference for me.
Well, I just felt you were being railroaded and you were like easy target when that wasn't the case. It was wrong.
Yeah.
You were just doing your job. Well,
but thanks to Dennis Quaid, I always say to people, if someone's going through something, you know him, you kind of know him, whatever, reach out to him. If you think, I shouldn't reach out, or I will, always reach out. Always do it.
Definitely.
The great DQ, my man. I'm watching Happy Face right now. It's on Paramount Plus, 2 episodes in so far. Another one coming out shortly.
You're going to love it. If you love true crime, if you love Dateline, all those true crime shows, you're going to love this.
I did Karen Reed.
There's a chance for you to be a little bit of a detective yourself in it, too. So.
That's right. You're very creepy in it and very good.
Thank
Dennis,
you so much, Billy.
I love you, brother. Thank you.
Love you, too.
The great DQ coming up.